The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
This is your United States of America. Speak your mind. Cross the line now, say the truth. No. Why don't you take it back?
It is Saturday, June 8th, 2019, and you are tuned into the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast powered by the Roar Network at thegorillaposition.com. Presented by Hameen Media. And in association with Last Word on ProWrestling.com. On this week's show, we're talking some New Japan, AEW, MLW, ROH, NWA, Impact Wrestling, and of course, some WWE. But before we dive in, it's my obligation to remind you this is a podcast by the fans for the fans, bringing you all the news that is news from across the professional wrestling world. You can find the entire HTM Podcast Network online at hittingthemarks.com. My name is Jargo. I will be your host for the day, but give it up for my tag team partner. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of Battle on the Border, professional wrestling, the real RBV. Rick, welcome back to your show.
Pro Wrestling Fanatics, welcome to Battle. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong show. Let me restart here. It's me. It's that Art of the B2B. Rick Vickery back again, the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. Jargo, sorry for a little bit of the delay here, but I have just had a hectic few days. Let's say hectic, fun, and educational few days, if you will.
Now, just I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but for those just joining us for the first time, Huckleberry, you are actually undergoing your first set of TV tapings right now for Battle on the Border. Those will be hitting air July 3rd. Is that correct?
That is a tentative date. As I said, educational and hectic. Those two kind of play into the same area. It has been a learning experience. We're working through it right now, but we're kind of doing some things on the fly, and it complicates itself a little bit for those that aren't familiar with it. When you're doing things that outside of live television, what we're used to with like WWE, when you get down to the brass tacks of how they operate inside of like MLW, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, it can be very chaotic at times because you're taping things out of order. So you have to kind of rearrange the contents that you're presenting it in. You're shooting your promos at different areas. You've got post-production. So much that goes into it. So much that goes into, that finished product before it hits the air that I have a feeling so many just take for granted.
And really, you're catering to two different audiences because you have to present for the live audience in attendance for the show, and then you're trying to adapt things for the TV audience in a month or so.
Which is probably a little hectic for what we're going through because when you're going to an Impact television taping, when you're going to a Ring of Honor television taping, what to expect. It's going to be a little bit out of the ordinary. What we're attempting to do here is we've kind of market this as two different shows. And actually, we've kind of kept the television aspect of it kind of under wraps.
I was going to ask if you let the live audience know that they were at a TV taping.
Well, we let them know while they were there. They knew, obviously we had the commentary right there in the middle. We were surrounded by fans. We intentionally set that up right around where the hard cam was, where we were positioned so that we could get fans kind of interacting with us. They could hear us calling it as it was happening, try to improve the reactions around us to pick up those mics that were closest to the cam and all that. But we let them know that. But the reason we didn't announce anything going in is we didn't want it to take away from live attendance. We didn't want individuals to feel, okay, it's not a big deal if I miss this show. I'm going to be able to catch all of this action, these 2 days extravaganza. I can catch this, airing on, streaming services. We didn't want to lose out on that. So we kind of kept it under wraps. We wanted people, to file through the gates, to experience it live. I mean, there's nothing like live professional wrestling. It's such a different beast than television. So we market it in that direction. And now we're kind of moving into the next month would be really marketing the television. But in doing so, we want to be able to tell two different stories. We don't want you to see the same thing that you saw at the live event. You're going to get the backstage vignettes, you're going to understand why some different things happen. And some things are kind of, it's going to kind of take on an own narrative of its own.
Well, and I mean, we see that in NXT. I mean, obviously, NXT did tapings last night. You can find the results online, but the results only tell you so much because, like you were saying, there's all the backstage segments, there's all the vignettes, there's what happens in William Regal's office. There's so much more to the NXT TV show than just sitting there and reading through results. And another company that seemingly has that issue at this point is ROH. And in a little bit a different way, because what you're going through right now is what ROH is dealing with, because they're trying to run two narratives. They have their TV narrative and they have their live show narrative. Do you feel any differently about Honor Club 24 hours removed from your first TV taping?
Well, even before what we went through last night and what I know about Honor Club, they actually provided a great deal of education for us, going back to the Briscoes and the GOD, where they showed you about 2 hours of how they handled their taping. And now I knew that was the model that I wanted to follow, but sometimes when I explain it to you, obviously you understand it. You actually helped me through some of it, to kind of iron out some of those wrinkles there. But as I'm talking to individuals, and I don't want to call anyone up by name or anything like that, but don't necessarily have that kind of background. They don't know events so much like that, or especially when you're trying to get in to producing a show or anything like that. It throws them off to what they're used to. The live event will just run it and tape it and air it. Well, that's not exactly how it's going to work, because again, we're going back to telling those two narratives. We got so much time to fill. I mean, we're running 2 days of events with, I think we're anywhere from, if we throw in the pre-shows, we've got 12 to 14 matches. We need to fill 8 1-hour shows. So, there's going to be times that, we want to go back and explain other things. So we'll go into the vault and kind of work that into the television, that it's just happening. So so that canon kind of plays together as opposed to what we've already seen at the live events.
Outside of yourself, and outside of the actual wrestling talent, how many TV people do you have? Like, how many people have experience working any kind of television, or are you guys really learning this thing as you go along?
We are very fortunate. We have an individual by the name of James Hand. He's based out of here of Ohio. He works, he is a professor. That's what he kind of teaches. It is the production and all that. He does the audio production, the filming production and all that. So, he is our wealth of knowledge. We can reference him there. Myself, has a little bit of a background in there, kind of, especially with how we should write these, formulate the scripts. And I don't mean that in a sense as what people would think is actual wrestling creative. This is one of those things where, I'm kind of told, okay, this is the direction they're going. These are the stories that are happening. Do you have any input? But we need you then to reset these things into a television format and kind of re-sculpt those stories.
And that's really the role of, whether it be Michael Cole or Mr. Ian Riccaboni, Kevin Kelly, pick your poison. I mean, that's the narrator of the show. That's the role that you have found yourself in now. Well,
yeah, in front of the camera, of course, but then also going back, there's going to be, we've got, we ran last night. We've got 7 matches in the can. We're going to run again tonight, another set of matches. There will be matches running late tonight that will actually air on television before what aired last night, because we're re-sculpting the stories that are being told.
It's all magic, ladies and gentlemen. What you see behind the camera, what you see in front of the camera. And sometimes you have an issue like our lead story here this week, Rick, where they actually overlap. And we want to start things off with Bully Ray and what happened at State of the Art over the course of last weekend and the shows that we had a privilege to see. It seems that there was a little bit of an incident with a fan, and now ROH is conducting their own internal investigation. I actually reached out to our friends and I got the generic statement, Huckleberry. They sent me the same statement that I'm sure that they sent to the PW Torch and the same statement that they sent to the Wrestling Observer. And here is the statement. Are you ready for this? Ring of Honor prides itself on providing a fun and entertaining environment for both our fans and our wrestlers to the professional wrestling at the highest level. Fans are encouraged to cheer, boo, and chant during the show while wrestlers interact both positively and in a rivalry, as that is the engagement that makes the ROH experience what it is. Wrestlers interacting with fans is core to the experience. However, under no circumstance should any of our athletes or staff confront or engage fans outside of the bounds of this entertainment experience or outside of the bounds of the area that hosts this experience. Dude, this is like straight WWE corporate speak bullshit to a T.
Oh, come on. It's just not WWE. This is just your typical generic.
It's corporate bullshit. That's what it is. But I feel like I'm reading a WWE press release. Here's the reality of things.
Dude, I write like 4 or 5 of those a month.
Here is the reality of things. And I think there is one thing that is getting so lost inside of this story for ROH. All right. And I have seen this happen before as a fan. I have seen this happen before as a talent. All right. You have a fan at a concert and that fan is getting unruly. All right. The security team grabs the fan, and who do they take them to? They take them to the tour manager for the band. That's what Bully Ray is. Bully Ray is office. Like somehow inside of this narrative, it has been completely lost that Bully Ray is on the booking committee, that Bully Ray is one of the senior members of the ROH office on these live shows. It would either be Bully Ray or Todd Sinclair. Those are going to be the 2 guys that are going to talk to these people. And I keep hearing this narrative about security. I'll bet you anything that security was employed by ROH, not the building that they were at. When we were at StarCast, when we watched Double or Nothing, who do you see all over that place? Atlas Security. Atlas Security is employed by AEW, not the arena. This was handled exactly the way that it should have been handled, and the problem is, it was Bully Ray. Everybody's just looking at this as Bully Ray the wrestler. This is not Bully Ray the wrestler. This is Bully Ray the office.
Well, I think, when a lot of people, especially when it comes to, the world of professional wrestling, and you were talking about here with the letter, with the statement that they have released, comparing it to WWE. And I think they're taking this situation as well. I mean, you wouldn't hear about, an unruly fan at that time being pulled to the back and being confronted, by a Fit Finlay or someone, perhaps. Most certainly not a Triple H or a Vince McMahon themselves. But they do handle their security there quite differently than you're going to get with a company on the level of a Ring of Honor.
If this was Joe Koff, are we talking about this? If this was Joe Koff instead of Bully Ray, are we having this conversation? Does this story go mainstream?
I don't think, we're not having this conversation just even outside of Joe Koff if it was Todd Sinclair.
Exactly.
As you had mentioned. The thing is, it's kind of, but this is, really, this is almost a compliment. This is a true compliment to Bully Ray. Because what is one of those things that we always talk about that's so beautiful about professional wrestling is when you blur those lines between reality and the fiction. And Bully Ray is one of those old school individuals that it's really kind of hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. So when we hear they're presenting him as the enforcer, going back when he rejoined Ring of Honor there, he's in that role as the enforcer. Now he is kind of the guy that's picking on the little person. And when we think of, that indie fan, that indie mark, who thinks they can get in there and just go all out and do that, we're thinking of that smaller stature.
And he's a true badass heel, which is something they don't have inside of ROH. Like, yeah, Matt Taven is the world heavyweight champion, but he plays basically a chicken shit heel. Bully Ray is the big badass heel. He's the big bad bully that you want to see get his ass whipped. If you go and you look at this guy and what he said Bully Ray said to him and what Bully Ray confirms he said to him, this reads like somebody, like a tour manager, telling a fan, knock your shit off or you're gonna get tossed.
So it's almost kind of fair warning.
Yeah,
You're going to get banned from all of our events. We're not going to let you back into this venue. You're going to be out tonight. And if and if you really cross the line, there might be some legal action here. I think beyond where people are getting caught up in that blurred line between the management type and the performer, we also have to take into account this is actually exciting people because it did involve Velvet Sky.
I have a friend. And this friend, we're going to call him Big Gus because, well, his name is Big Gus. But Big Gus stands about 6'9", and he's probably about 325 pounds, and he's tattooed from head to God knows where. Like, this dude has done like personal security for porn stars at the Porn Stars Ball in Las Vegas, Nevada. He's done personal security for guys like Vinnie Paul from Pantera. All right. Gus knows what he's doing. So I'm hanging out with my friend Big Gus and a couple of other guys, and we're at the Valair Ballroom in Ames, Iowa. And this shitty band called Stone Sour is playing, right? And so we're sitting there and we're watching Stone Sour, and Big Gus looks over at us and he says, "Hey, you guys want to go backstage?" We're like, "Yeah, sure. Why not? Follow me." Because ain't nobody telling Gus he can't go nowhere. So Big Gus and his group of mishorts as we all go walking backstage, and we're backstage maybe 20-30 minutes, and some drunk ass fan is backstage and getting rowdy, and Big Gus grabs the motherfucker and throws him out. Who comes walking up to Big Gus is the tour manager for Stone Sour, and he says, "I'm sorry, who are you?" And he goes, "Big Gus, nice to meet you. Who are you?" And he goes, "Well, I'm the tour manager." And Gus goes, "Okay, well then evidently I'm doing your fucking job." That's Big a true Gus. Fucking story.
Big Gus throwing it down.
That's a true fucking story. It's the tour manager. And in this case, that would be Bully Ray. If this is anybody else on that roster, like you said, Todd Sinclair, we're not even having this conversation, because even what the fan says that Bully Ray said to him is spoken like office. Now get out there and enjoy yourself as a fan. What's so threatening about that other than the fact that it's Bully Ray saying it to you?
Obviously, yeah. We're talking about would the story be, picking up any steam at all? Let's just, let's flip it here a little bit. Let's talk about the effect of, coming from the messenger. If it's Todd Sinclair, yeah, you appreciate it because if you are a true Ring of Honor fan, you're going to have the ultimate respect for everything that Todd Sinclair has done. Bully Ray delivering even the politest of message is going to scare the living shit out of anyone and straighten them out.
Right? Get out there and enjoy yourself as a fan. I felt like my life was in danger because it came from Bully Ray. Now, was it handled properly? Absolutely not. Should Bully Ray be that person? Probably not. But I feel like this entire story is just so incredibly blown out of proportion.
That is just a fact of life.
Absolutely ridiculous. Let's talk about Eli Drake. Eli Drake is a free agent, Huckleberry. He took to the interwebs the other day, and he announced that after 4 years with Impact Wrestling, some ups, some downs, I would like to thank them for an overall great experience. Throughout those years, I had the fortune of carrying 3 different title belts, having my own talk show, Fact of Life, and was given the trust to craft my own promos virtually from day one. And it shows, because that's why he's one of the best talkers they ever had in Impact Wrestling. I appreciate the chance that was taken on me and the trust I was given, as well as the friends and experiences I gained along the way. I wish Impact Wrestling nothing but continued success and growth going forward. Today, I am officially a free agent. Now, Rick, we're getting ready to talk some New Japan. We're going to talk some AEW. We're going to talk some Ring of Honor. We're going to talk some MLW. We're going to talk some WWE. Where should the namer of dummies end up?
Well, you got to really look at his style here. And obviously, where you were talking about how gifted he is on the microphone, and so many individuals, that's where they're going to go first, and rightfully so. That is his strong point. But he is so strong there that many forget he's pretty damn solid inside the ring from bell to bell as well. So he's going to be able to go out there and hang with anyone. I'm looking at these different promotions here and what they kind of present and how they mesh their styles. I know, a lot of times we strongly support Ring of Honor. I don't know if that is such a great fit right now with AEW. I think they need to really establish, who they've got here, really start gearing up for that television. I think this would be a tremendous boost for Major League Wrestling.
I agree. When I look inside of the he's a great talker. So going to Japan, you might as well just rule out right away. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Inside of ROH, I don't see them giving Eli Drake the clearance that he is going to need to go out there and get himself over. We can talk a little bit about ROH's booking right now when we talk about best in the world, but
and they have been making some adjustments towards that more of that sports entertainment style. And maybe if they could attract someone like an Eli Drake and give him the ball, let him run with it to kind of open that up a little bit more for them, and I could see where those conversations take place. But I think ultimately, there's not really enough time. Even as Ring of Honor is just slightly adjusting towards sports entertainment, there's still not enough time for like Eli Drake, to really go out there and get himself over under that umbrella.
As far as AEW goes, I feel like their top 5, top 6 guys are kind of in place right now. So yeah, Eli Drake could absolutely go there. He could absolutely be a part of the show as long as he is comfortable being Dolph Ziggler. As long as he's comfortable being, that top of the second tier of guys. Maybe once in a blue moon for a minor show, you find yourself into a main event, but you're basically going to be carrying whatever that company's mid-card title is going to be. And I don't think he's going to be content with that.
And I don't even inside that mid card, you look at what he brings to the table. AEW has already kind of invested that in Friedman.
Yeah. MJF is already in that role, and you could argue is playing it better than Eli Drake even.
So at that point, they would almost, and I know immediately.
Oh my God, could you imagine those two together as a team?
Well, either together or opposing one another, the promos that they could cut against each other. But you got to, Eli Drake there, when he was in Impact Wrestling, he had muscle behind him. He had other individuals. It was it Masters that was with him that left because he saw, I don't want to come in here and play a second fiddle. Would Drake feel okay in that role? Because you got to believe that MJF would be the focal point of any kind of faction or just tag team that they had together. And even if they were squaring off one-on-one, I mean, that could create some great entertainment on that mid-card, that undercard, but the focus is going to be on MJF.
Which really leaves then ROH and MLW, and I just think MLW would use him better. I think MLW would give him a better opportunity. He would be going up against better, consistent talent, and I have way more faith in their booking right now. I almost feel like he's like the other version of Marty Scurll. Like Marty Scurll is in this role with ROH. If he re-signs with ROH, like you are a perennial main eventer and you can put ROH on your back. I feel like if Eli Drake goes to MLW, like I love Filthy Tom Lawler. I don't want Filthy Tom Lawler going out and doing press conferences for me. Eli Drake, I could absolutely see him as the face of MLW.
Or, one of those, I mean, he could go down there and really take on that heel Miz, that MJF for you. I mean, he could take them to the next level right there. And he's someone that can make those regular rounds. He has seen the inner workings with WWE. He's been there with TNA Impact Wrestling. He understands that sports entertainment aspect. And that's something that I think, MLW in small doses could certainly benefit from, but as you were talking about Ring of Honor, how's he fit in there? It's just like I said, although they are making small adjustments to show a little bit more sports entertainment, it's more like in their characters and how they're presenting them, because they're still not designating a whole lot of time to mic, to someone going out there and working the mic.
All right, so I think we're actually kind of in agreement. Eli Drake, MLW, Court Bauer, get him on the phone. Let's get this deal done. And you know what the other thing that would be great about Eli Drake is he is such a great talker that he could go down to Mexico with all the Lucha partnerships that they have. Oh my God, I can just imagine how much heat that guy could get in Mexico.
Hey, you know what? You know where I'm expecting him to make a couple appearances, though, and these are going to be major. I will most certainly be in attendance. You know, right here in Southern Ohio, the Cincinnati area. Let's not forget who trained him and who runs a promotion here, and essentially is a major player in the book at Battle on the Border Pro Wrestling. That's one Mr. Cody Hawk.
Very, very interesting. Let's take things all the way around the world and get your final Best of Super Juniors update.
平成6年に幕を開けたジュニアヘビー級最高峰の戦いベストオブザスーパージュニア時は流れて時代が変わり新日ジュニアの新たな幕開けがやってくる新元号令和最初のスーパージュニア
All right, Huckleberry, sometimes we talk about booking and bookings that I don't understand, and we're just going to run through these top 3 matches for the Best of Super Juniors final, but this first one bugs me. And you know, I'm getting the impression that Gato knows that it bugs me, and that's why he keeps on doing it. Like, he is just building more and more and more heat for this goddamn dirty knife pervert switchblade Jay White. He puts down the ace, puts down Tanahashi, and Tanahashi's grand return after the Madison Square Garden match with Zack Sabre Jr. And Rick, this match wasn't even close. This was Switchblade Jay White systematically taking apart Hiroshi Tanahashi and doing 2 things. Number 1, making me really want to see Switchblade Jay White get his ass kicked. Like, now he's even growing out the goatee, and it looks like he's got like a 13-year-old's goatee where it doesn't fill in on the sides at all, so he kind of looks like a pirate. And
Kind
it's
of like the straggly pubes.
Yeah, and it's like it gives him even more heat because he looks so goddamn ridiculous. I want to see somebody slap him so hard that his stupid little mustache goes flying off of his face. But he puts down the ace in the Ace's return. That place came unglued for Hiroshi Tanahashi, and then it was just like 20 minutes of fuck you, Jay White, fuck you.
Hey, we had a good discussion about this last week. You know, in going in each direction. This was one of those we were kind of on the edge of the seat about, because you could see it going either way. That almost both of these individuals needed a big win here. And as I now in hindsight looking back at this thing, I think it was the right call. You know, moving forward here to keep that heat on White, where he's had that serious dip. I think he needed something big, and this is that jumpstart for him.
People throw me a lot of shit because I love Tyler Breeze so much. And I've told the story on the show before. The way that Tyler Breeze became my favorite wrestler was I realized he was working me. I hated Tyler Breeze. I hated him so much. Oh my God, I couldn't believe how much I hated watching Tyler Breeze. And then all of a sudden it registered, oh my God, I'm supposed to hate Tyler Breeze. This kid is so fucking good. And that's how he became my favorite wrestler. Rick, I have a feeling in a couple of years, we're going to be sitting here and it's going to occur to me that Jay White is my favorite wrestler because this motherfucker is working me.
Did we just become best friends?
God damn it. But, you know, it also begs the question, because the next person we're going to talk about here is Jon Moxley. And I saw a couple of people talking about this idea that Jon Moxley should join the Bullet Club and take over the Bullet Club from Switchblade Jay White. And I said, number 1, if Jon Moxley is going to join any faction, it should be Los Ingobernables, because that guy's about as ungovernable as you can possibly get. Number 2, what's wrong with Switchblade? Do you view this Switchblade era as a failure for the Bullet Club? Because I don't get it at all.
You know, I don't want to see Moxley in the Bullet Club. I'm kind of, you're that outsider. Let's take the cracker and throw him in there. I got a different little twist here for you. My first thought was I'd like to see a complete Ohio is for Killers invasion.
I'd be down with that.
But let's take it one more step. You know, let's not forget, before Ohio was for Killers, Jon Moxley and Sami Callihan were the Switchblade Conspiracy.
But I think I want to see them against each other. I don't want to see them together. I want to see them against each other.
No, I'm saying, dude, that creates the drama. I mean, you create with this illusion here. You've got this group called the Switchblade Conspiracy, but they're kind of at odds here. You know, are they going to join the club? What's going on here? Jay White, known as Switchblade. I think there's some underlining tones there that you can play into.
When those vignettes started for Switchblade, I thought it was Sami Callihan. I thought Sami Callihan should have been the Switchblade character. They went with Jay White, and I think Jay White's killing it, man. I don't understand. And I wonder, like, is this an American thing? Because, like, Bullet Club has certainly cooled off in America, but watching it as a Japanese wrestling fan, I don't feel like Bullet Club has missed a step.
Well, I think that's perception. That the West, they kind of adopted Bullet Club, and when you had the explosion with the Elite and all that, they really just took ownership of it to themselves. So now they feel that it truly is theirs. They're forgetting about the roots, where this thing came from. Before it swept the globe, it was complete dominance. I mean, it was the levels of the NWO, over there in Japan, and now it's kind of getting somewhat back to those roots there. I just think, the Western fans, they're just kind of looking for that next great, that next great individual that they can really relate to. And I think, there's so many individuals out there too that right now just truly do not understand who or what Jon Moxley is. And they're still kind of relating it to Dean Ambrose, which is a complete disservice to this new persona.
I think I put the blame more on Ring of Honor than I do on New Japan Pro Wrestling. When the Elite left Ring of Honor, so did the Bullet Club. Like, there's no Bullet Club members inside of ROH anymore. Like, there was the American Bullet Club and the Japanese Bullet Club.
Right. Well, I was going to say, not on a full-time basis.
Right, but I mean, with the Bucks and Cody and Adam Cole, who's the last Bullet Club member that was doing a stint in ROH other than God and who showed up and carried one match?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That was the hottest crowd that they've had since.
They still have some of those ties, but yeah, you got the God representing as champions, but that's few and far between. When we're going to see them available, so you still have that there. Was there any ever excuse why Marty was dismissed?
No, none. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like he just left Bullet Club and started Villanone prices.
And he even in Japan, it seemed like that audience was a little confused about his alliance, or allegiance, where it was at. When he was working, this most recent tour, he had Brody in his corner. But it would seem some of the reactions were kind of as he was still representing Bullet Club.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird dynamic with the Bullet Club right now. If I'm ROH, I'm just pushing for, okay, listen, we need Bullet Club merch. We need to be able to sell Bullet Club merch at our shows. We need somebody representing Bullet Club inside of ROH if this partnership is going to continue.
Outside of going with the big guns, the God, I'm actually really surprised that they're not trying to reach out to bring in, maybe some of the other individuals. If you're Ring of Honor, I think that would be tremendous exposure in the West for someone like a Chase Owens.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they sent over Juice, and Juice was over here for a little while. But yeah, send us a Chase Owens. Let Chase Owens run wild through ROH for a little while, representing Bullet Club. Split the merch sales. You can sell Bullet Club stuff. I mean, when I look at ROH crowds, all I see is Bullet Club and Villain Club and a few Villain Enterprises, and then you have the occasional one-offs. But it's like they're not even selling that merch at those shows anymore.
If you could take, two of, the younger to mid-level talents from Bullet Club and give them extended runs inside Ring of Honor, that's going to re-energize that merch for you. And someone like Chase Owens, he could easily fit right into that mid card, become very competitive, and let him show some personality. Let him get out there and see if he can really help drop some of this merch for you. Like you said, it's just a lot of it too isn't that you necessarily need the hottest talent representing them. You just need the means and the reasons to have that merchandise at your table.
Yeah, because the Bullet Club brand was way hotter than the ROH brand. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Let's talk about Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley, your new IWGP United States champion. He wins the title from Juice Robinson, and there's a couple different ways to look at this thing. I'm waiting for the political shitstorm to come here that an AEW contracted wrestler is holding an IWGP championship. How long do you expect this Moxley run to go? Because I'm guessing he loses this title and we don't see him again in New Japan Pro Wrestling after King of Pro Wrestling right in at the beginning of October.
Well, and that's the big payoff for them right now. It's going to bring every year you're looking for, within New Japan, trying to expand their global reach. This is a solid lockdown for them for these next couple of months for, the handful of events, especially the big G1 coming up that Moxley's going to participate in. That's your big selling point for him. He's going to get a nice payday out of this thing. And then I could actually see that. I wouldn't be surprised to possibly because what it tends to mean to a lot of these individuals, especially now, to have that opportunity, if you've worked a big match at WrestleMania, or even if you've worked WrestleMania, to also say, put on your resume that you were also a part of Wrestle Kingdom.
Juice Robinson in this promo that I'm about to play for you says that Jon Moxley killed CJ Parker. Whatever was left of CJ Parker and Juice Robinson, Jon Moxley killed him. And screw you fans, screw all of you haters, screw all of you who never believed in me. I hope you're happy. You were right. You were right. He came in here and he whipped my ass. You were right. Here's the audio from Juice Robinson.
You were all fucking right, all right? Everybody was right. How do you feel good? You feel good? I hope you feel good. Pat yourself on the back. All right, you crowned him. You crowned him 2 weeks ago, and you were all right. Thanks for believing in me, world. Thanks for hoping for me. You called it just like it went. He beat the shit out of me. What does this look like to you, huh? What does this look like? I'll tell you what it is. He fucking bit me. He fucking bit me, and he demoralized me. And he walked in, and he took the only thing in the fucking world that means anything to me. Do you understand that? Has anybody ever did that to any of you? Because it just happened to me. And let me tell you, I don't even know the words. It sucks. All right? But you know what? I guess it's all right, because we're all going to go around about 70 to 80 times around the sun, and then we're all going to be fucking dead. So whatever. I tried. All right, I went out there with my heart and my nuts, and I fought my little ass off. All right? I hope nobody's sitting around thinking that Juice Robinson isn't made of the right stuff. Because if you think that, fly to Narita. I'll meet you there, and I will beat the shit out of you. Because that guy is a badass. He's one of the biggest badasses I've ever met in my life. He is different than he was 8 years ago. He's better. He took over the world in another company, and he quit because he was pissed off. If you couldn't see the chip on his shoulder, you're blind as a bat. He came here and he made an example out of me. But one thing he did do tonight was he got rid of CJ Parker. There ain't 1 ounce of CJ Parker in this body right here. Not 1 speck of DNA pumping through these fucking New Japan veins. You understand me? He is dead, and Juice Robinson killed him. I will get back to where I'm supposed to be, and you guys are gonna have a great time watching it. And you're gonna, oh, just change. Go to hell. All right, go to hell. These Japanese people, they love me and I love them. You get on your keyboards and you can say all you want about me, but I want you to know that all you on your keyboards over across the Pacific Ocean, hanging tight in the good old red, white, and blue. When I have that belt over my shoulder, I don't think America. I don't think USA. The only 4 letters that I give a hot damn about is IWGP. And I hope you all take that personally. All right?
So what do you think, Rick? Is this kind of a heel turn for Juice Robinson? Is that what we're doing with Juice Robinson? Or are we just going to get a much more serious, less flamboyant Juice Robinson going forward?
I didn't take this as a heel turn at all. And let me, just to speak to this entire story that we had, coming into this match, Juice delivered via social media just an incredible statement, talking about how him and Moxley, reported to the Performance Center at the exact same time. The time that they spent together, even entering the WWE training at the same time, Moxley was much more advanced. He had the street arts. He was trained at HWA under Les Thatcher and Cody Hawk, who themselves before the Performance Center, they were the head trainers for the up and coming WWE talent. So they knew the inside. Moxley had that advantage. So he was sharing all, that education with Juice Robinson. Obviously Moxley goes on to, greater things in WWE. Juice has to, check himself out of the system, relocate, rebuild, regroup, whatever. This was a very personal match going in. I love the twist coming out of this thing. Moxley goes over and now Juice is kind of, okay, you know what this represented? This is saying goodbye to that young kid that used to look up to Moxley, that used to need him for advice. I've fully evolved now. I am my own individual. I am this new being. I'm looking forward to not a heel turn, but I want to see him become much more serious. I want to see him, just rebrand himself so much. I've been talking about this for weeks at Ring of Honor. One of the things, it's just at times it just, when he was the leader of Lifeblood, it's just so hard to take the entire group seriously because you really couldn't take Juice seriously.
Yep, I completely agree. Cutting off the dreads makes one hell of a statement as well. Let's talk about Moxley now. I'm waiting for somebody to kill the Dean Ambrose and John Moxley, because I saw Moxley's post-match interview as well, and he seemed incredibly gracious and very, very thankful and very not John Moxley. Even watching this match, man, like maybe there's a bit more aggression, like the Impaler double arm DDT is a nice touch, but it was like, it felt like I was watching a Dean Ambrose match, and I'm hoping that the G1 will basically kill the Dean Ambrose and John Moxley. Like, I wonder if Moxley feels like, I need this. I need to go out and have 20 matches and just completely reinvent my style.
Well, it's looking forward to the G1 and so many potential matchups. The people borderline talking on dream matchups. In this case with Moxley, he's being very. How'd you put it there? He's being very thankful for the opportunity and all that. And even he explained why this match was happening where it did, is because those people are familiar with him. So I was wondering, maybe it was because he wants to keep people familiar so they continue to buy into him. So it wasn't a complete turn off the first time out, that he's representing what truly Moxley is, that, this vicious, chaotic persona. Or was it maybe more of a culture thing? I wanted to ask you about that, Jargo, because you know more about, how one should represent themselves over there. I mean, was it that he wanted to, say, thank you for this opportunity, so they were more appreciative of him?
It almost felt like that was the real John Good. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like that's a conversation like him and Harold and Gato and, that they all should have had behind closed doors. Thank you very much for this opportunity, blah, 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 blah. And then go out and go full on Chris Jericho when Chris Jericho came to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, you didn't hear him say thank you for nothing. He was a complete freaking lunatic, pun intended. That's what I expected from John Moxley. And especially like with the entrance where he comes out through the crowd, like very, I don't know, Dean Ambrose. And it was just like, as I'm watching this, it was just like, I'm not getting it. Like, there's a couple of moves that he's doing. He's biting Juice on the forehead. Like, it just felt like Dean Ambrose Unleashed. And I don't want Dean Ambrose Unleashed. I want John Moxley.
What do you think about babies biting people?
Babies biting people?
Not like little babies, like baby faces.
Oh, gotcha. Wow, my brain went somewhere completely different. is he supposed to be a babyface?
Well, I'm just talking in general. We had, I was calling a match last night. We had numerous tremendous female talent showcased on the card. It just when you said that, kind of popped into my mind because as I'm calling the match, and I have to she's obviously working. She's represented as the baby. She's got kind of this outer space Bailey kind of gimmick going on. She's very unique, bubbly, and all this. But she kept going to biting her opponent's knuckles. Was it in retaliation for something? Kind of. I mean, just kind of maybe to put them in their place, but it wasn't like anything like obvious, like where the heel was biting first or something like that. It was just kind of it was an attempt to, get a pop. But as you're sitting there, it's okay. We don't want these kids thinking that you just go bite someone for fun. Right. Yeah. I don't know. That's a little side tangent just popped in my mind.
Hey, maybe if she was playing a vampire who like shimmered in the sunlight like the new Batman. So let's talk about Ospreay. Ospreay slays the Dragon, wins the Best of Super Juniors, ends Shingo's winning streak at 97. But Rick, I think the bigger story was what was said afterwards, that he wants to remain a junior heavyweight and face heavyweights. So I think everybody is kind of speculating that we're going to see Ospreay inside of the G1 Climax. We could see a rematch because Shingo has demanded that he wants bigger and better competition. It seems as though Shingo is the one moving up to heavyweight as he is going to be taking on Kojima at Dominion. He demanded a singles match with a heavyweight, and the New Japan office is obliged, and he's basically starting at the bottom of the heavyweight division.
Are we seeing here just maybe a little bit of a theme running through the show? We're talking about expansion and adapting to styles. Is this a little bit of New Japan trying to blend these divisions a little bit that we have come so used to that we see in the West? We talk regularly about how anything outside of this tournament, the division almost seems neglected at times. Are they trying to kind of blend these things, Drago?
I think it's a matter of perception, because you could say that the tag team division has been completely abandoned since World Tag League and Wrestle Kingdom. No, it's just not their time of the year. The way the New Japan calendar works is you have your big blow off in January, February, and then you go into junior season, then you go into heavyweight season, then you go into junior tag season, and then you go into heavyweight tag season. I think it's just kind of the rotation of things where it's like, after Best of Super Juniors, we're probably not going to see a lot of these guys again in New Japan Pro Wrestling until next year's Best of Super Juniors or Junior Tag League.
Right. I see where you're coming from. And then maybe that perception, is there because the importance and the excitement is so much greater when we're talking about the G1 itself.
Right.
As in comparison to anything else that's really going on.
And when you have talent like Will Ospreay and Shingo Takagi, you want to feature them as much as you possibly can. You don't want them taking off G1 season. So let's throw them in the G1.
Well, and now, as we're talking about that they each want some bigger competition, indicating that they would like to have an opportunity to heavyweights. Let's not forget, following this match now, both individuals have earned opportunities at the junior weight title.
Yeah, that's going to absolutely come into this as well. Another thing coming out of the Best of Super Juniors final was Minoru Suzuki. Minoru Suzuki is pissed, and that's never good for anybody. He is tired of Gaijin coming over and taking his spot, and he wants to fight Jon Moxley, and he wants to fight Chris Jericho. Rick, I want to see both of those matches.
I have a feeling that when he said that, Suzuki meant at the same time.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either.
Could you imagine if you were an unruly fan and you got called to the back and it was Suzuki that had to scope you? Bully Ray just became Todd Sinclair in that situation.
Oh, that's tremendous. So now I'm hoping that we get Suzuki and Moxley inside of the G1. I hope that they are inside of the same bracket. That I absolutely want to see. I need to see that match. And I want to see Suzuki versus Jericho, but I don't want Jericho to win the IWGP Championship, and I don't want Suzuki to challenge Jericho for the IWGP Championship. We need a different way to get to Suzuki versus Jericho. So I'm just going to say...
Has there been any rumblings of maybe Jericho entering the G1?
Come on, man. Come on. Like, I think Moxley is nuts. Like, I think Moxley is really going to be tested going through this G1, man. Like, this thing is a freaking grind. I know that he thinks that the WWE schedule is a grind, but this G1 tournament is something else.
Yeah, I think Jericho probably knows at this point he wants or needs anything to do with it.
No. I don't see that happening. So, but I'm hoping that maybe at like a King of Pro Wrestling, somehow we can get to a Suzuki versus Jericho match. We're going to talk about Suzuki again in a minute.
You could have, we could really heat this thing up, Suzuki versus AEW. Although we already got some heat there between Jericho and Moxley. Maybe Jericho does it because he's trying to, in a roundabout way, by giving the assist, he's insulting Moxley. You could have Moxley and Suzuki in an elimination match, and Jericho interferes.
Oh my God! Like
costing Suzuki the match. So at that point, Suzuki is like, I don't care what it takes. Get me this match, or I will destroy everything and everyone in my path, Street Godzilla style. And then, in another sense, there you've got Jericho kind of almost as a middle finger and a joke to Moxley, like, hey, yeah, I remember what you did to me. I made sure that there was something left of you for me to tear apart when you get back to AEW.
If Moxley killed CJ Parker, I think Minoru Suzuki is the guy to kill Dean Ambrose. Just saying. Let's talk a little bit about Dominion. Huckleberry, if this was WWE, this would be basically the equivalency of SummerSlam. This is their second biggest show of the year. Let's kind of run through the card here. As this show is coming up tonight, we'll have a full review Monday inside the locker room. Your first match is going to be a death match. Not because it's being advertised as a death match, but because I think Shota Umino might die. Jon Moxley takes on Shota Umino in your opening match. That's right. They're going to give him a young lion. After killing CJ Parker, now they're going to give Jon Moxley a young lion. This is a non-title matchup. Rick, is this goodbye, Shota? Is this like how we write Shota off of the show so Shota can go on excursion? Because that would make a lot of sense to me.
I was going to say, definitely this is an exit for him. Good luck. Good luck to wherever you're heading.
Yeah, and I expect big things from Shota Umino. Kojima is going to take on Shingo Takagi. We talked about that match a little bit. Yoshihashi and Jushin Thunder Liger are going to take on Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki. This match is boiling and boiling. I thought we were going to get the singles match at Dominion. I thought it was going to be Suzuki versus Liger. Suzuki keeps stealing Jushin Thunder Liger's mask. And that is not necessarily how Jushin Thunder Liger wants to go on his farewell tour. This is going to come to a head. Eventually, we're going to get Liger versus Suzuki. But in this matchup, I'm looking for Yoshihashi to get absolutely murdered and Minoru Suzuki to steal Liger's mask, kind of keep it going. Taguchi, Juice Robinson, and the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, take on Bullet Club, Taiji Ishimori, Chase Owens, and Jay White. Look for Tanahashi to get his win back here because, unfortunately, Chase Owens is in the match, and that normally means he's taking the pin. Never open weight championship on the line. Huckleberry's favorite Japanese wrestler, Tomohiro Ishii, takes on my least favorite Japanese wrestler, not named Toru Yano, Tai Chi. Huckleberry, I'm really hoping that Ishii just absolutely murders Tai Chi and Miho Abe has to pick up the pieces and Ishii walks away as your never open weight champion.
Hey, let's crown a new champion here. This one should be pretty intense. A little hard hitting, a little old school style, a little RBV style, if you will.
It wouldn't surprise me if we see Tai Chi bust out the Iron Glove in this match. Ever since Lazuka kind of went away, Tai Chi's been carrying that thing around. This is a match I could see that thing coming into play. IWGP Tag Team Championships on the line as GOD takes on LIJ because we haven't seen Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa versus Evil and Sonata enough times. I'm not sure why this match is happening. I'm also not sure why Sonata looks like a blonde beetle. Have you seen this? Sonata cut off his mohawk and he got a bowl cut and he dyed it blonde. He looks like a blonde beetle.
I don't know, possibly who had more of the drastic hair change, either Sonata or Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah, and they both look absolutely awful. First one to shave their head absolutely wins the match. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line. The winner of the Best of Super Juniors, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay. He slayed one dragon. Now he's coming for another one. Dragon Lee. Huckleberry, we know we're going to be seeing Dragon Lee inside of ROH here in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about that here a little bit later as well. Do you think Dragon Lee drops the title here to Will Ospreay and we actually see the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion enter the G1, or does Dragon Lee hold on to this title?
We had some great conversation about this, and really presented what I thought was, tremendous arguments for both sides going over in this thing. But now that knowing that Ospreay, that instead of just moving on to the heavyweight division, that he wants to represent and compete in both. I mean, how it would be historic, correct, to have the champion competing in the G1?
Never happened. Never seen the junior champion inside the G1.
Would be very interesting. Let me ask you this. Let's see. Now, like Shingo had defeated Dragon Lee, earning himself an opportunity. Does that become void if Dragon Lee is no longer the champion, or is it just
that would basically just eliminate Shingo from the junior division? He would have no ties to the junior division at that point. Not that anybody would object to seeing Ospreay versus Shingo too.
Right. I was just kind of curious if that locks you into an opportunity, which really it doesn't seem like that's very fair that you beat an ex-champion and now the new champion owes you something. That's why I was kind of curious. So that's another interesting dynamic where, inside of the Best of the Super Juniors, we've got a short list of great potential matchups for that championship as, challengers stepping up to Dragon Lee. So now those would all be voided. Yep. With Will Ospreay, and we kind of start from scratch, or, he's just representing that championship and gearing up heading into the G1.
Because it also feels like, now would be a great time for Dragon Lee to drop this title. Like, he has legitimately no more contenders after this, well, other than Shingo, assuming that Shingo actually wants to challenge for the junior title. But there's the ever-looming question of Hiromu. When is Hiromu going to return? That's still kind of hanging out there. We've seen Dragon Lee pay homage to Hiromu throughout the tournament. And in his winning speech at Best of Super Juniors, Will Ospreay even put over, people come, people go. We're a little bit light on star power this year. I think we all miss Hiromu Takahashi, called out Hiromu by name. Big pop from the Ryogoku audience. And he says, hurry back because I want to fight.
Yeah. I wonder, because if we were setting this up with Dragon Lee, I mean, that was kind of the assumed direction that everyone was looking forward to.
Well, Hiromu set the internet on fire the other day when he put out this video of basically Daryl, but with a pink face. And It said 6'5", and everybody was like, oh my God, Hiromu's returning at the Best of Super Juniors. No, they put that cat on sale at the Best of Super Junior. So now at least we know they did secure the rights to Daryl. We can sell Daryl now. There's that legal ramification is gone because that was a whole to do. And we're selling Hiromu merch again. So hopefully Hiromu's back in this mix real soon.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if maybe they go with Ospreay because they're shifting gears because that timetable has changed.
That very well could be as well. Because I don't know how much Dragon Lee is going to be in Japan. That's the thing. I mean,
as you just said,
he's ROH, CMLL.
Yeah, he's essentially going on tour. So, maybe for, these undercards or, even gearing up, I mean, to build a little more hype around Ospreay going into that G1, you want him representing that championship.
Yeah, that could be. Let's talk about another championship. I'm talking about the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. It's my favorite championship in all of professional wrestling at the moment. And the guy who's going to be challenging for it hates that fucking belt. His name is Tetsuya Naito. He hates the Intercontinental Championship. He feels that it's disrespected him for years. But More than he hates the Intercontinental Championship, he hates Kota Ibushi. And he wants to beat Kota Ibushi because Kota Ibushi took this worthless title away from him. So we're getting the rematch. It's going to be Naito versus Ibushi one more time. And Kota Ibushi's going to win, right?
I would assume so. I feel like we're getting a lot of these repeats regularly on these matches.
Well, we're getting a lot of rematches here, that's for sure,
yeah.
Going into G1 season. Because that's really when everything kind of resets and rivalries are built for the next year is inside the G1. Is it safe to say whoever loses this match, Tetsuya Naito, is the favorite to win the G1?
See, I would like to see something here where, some stakes outside of the championship where a loser doesn't even qualify for the G1.
Oh, see, now that's just mean. We can't do the G1 without Kota Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito.
Well, you get one of them.
Oh my God, you're awful. Let's talk about the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It's Painmaker versus Rainmaker. Jericho versus Okada, finally. Rick, I laughed so hard. So the other night at the Best of Super Juniors final, it's Rocky Romero and Okada versus Marty Scurll and Brody King. And after the match, Okada pops right up and he's like, "Where's Jericho?" And he's looking over his shoulder. And the lights go out. They play a Jericho video. Lights come back on. Okada turns around real quick. Like he's ready for Jericho. He's done his homework. He's ready for the Alpha. Okada's winning this match. Like there's no way, no chance in hell Chris Jericho walks out the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion.
I don't think none whatsoever here. And I would even go as far as to say, I know you were talking about Suzuki says that he wants Moxley and Jericho. I'm going to assume this is probably that we don't see Jericho for a little while here in New Japan.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think this is Jericho's grand send-off for at least a while. Okay, let's talk about AEW. We don't have a lot of AEW to talk about, but I do got something that I thought was kind of interesting. So Huckleberry, the AEW pay-per-view buy rates are out, and all the WWE trolls are laughing in the AEW fans' faces. They only sold 98,000 pay-per-views for Double or Nothing. Do you consider that a success or not a success? Because in my mind, that's right about what I expected.
I mentioned this to you before this thing went on. We were talking about how do they measure this event itself? What is going to, for them, can this be a success? Where could this be failures? And one thing that I mentioned is not to worry about buy rates, because where do we see this everywhere? Even this, the supposed these hardcore supporters of AEW, the darling audience that is locked in, you saw everywhere they were looking for streams. This is a portion of the audience that is not willing to fork out $60 or not even willing to organize a party to have a couple friends over to enjoy this with a group of wrestling fans. It was all about streams here. So to me, to look at this buy rate, it's not concerning anywhere to me. Well, I think and I'd like to see some international numbers here. To me, it was more about worried about their production and how things went off. This is down the list of things that they need to, issues they need to iron out before we get to television.
I expected that it was going to be right about 100,000. That's kind of what I had thought. All in did about 50,000. So I figured, it'd be right around 100, maybe up to 150. I know some people were projecting like insane numbers, like 250,000 buys. And it's like that's not going to happen.
You're not getting those on even outside of wrestling. That's a stretch for some of these big events that are being featured on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I agree. So what I did is I went and I looked up some comparisons. I pulled up the WCW pay-per-view buy rate numbers, and I pulled up the ECW pay-per-view buy rate numbers. So for AEW's first show, they do 98,000 buys on pay-per-view. Rick, ECW only did 99,000 buys once in their entire existence.
And that's during a time where it was normal to, I know this had a higher price tag on it, but even back then, at $30, it was the norm. That was how you watched an event. We didn't have all these illegal streaming outlets that were out there.
I mean, when you look back through WCW buy rates, like Bash at the Beach 97, 500,000 buys. Bash at the Beach 98, 600,000 buys. 500,000 buys for Halloween Havoc 98. You know, so for a first show to draw 100,000 buys inside of the era of streaming, how can you not write this up as a huge success?
Which I said is, even if I'm looking at this thing, there's so many other issues that are presented on the plate before we're even worried about this thing.
I'm trying to look. What was?
I do think, you know, when you are looking at this though, for what it was priced at, what was it, 50 or 60?
50.
It was at 50. It was at $49.99.
Yep. I
do think that you have to have someone really committed to examining different ways as you're going forward to get that price lowered. And that's just not an answer to what WWE's got going on. That's just because everything else that we're used to from streaming services usually falls right into that $10 to $15 range.
And that's what I expect most of their shows will be, and that they're going to corner on 4 big events throughout a year. That'll be at that $49.99 price.
Well, I know we're gonna talk about here a little bit. We got some Impact Wrestling to talk about, but I saw that they have got their price down for the pay-per-view coming up.
Very interesting. The Road to Fighter Fest video has been released, part 1 of the Road to Fighter Fest via Cody's American Nightmare Family channel on YouTube. I like how they're building this thing up. Cody Rhodes doing a whole lot of homework on Darby Allin, which I think he absolutely needs to do. We got some build for Jay Bailey and Michael Nakazawa this week on Being the Elite. Joey Janela versus John Moxley. I cannot freaking wait for a feud over a cigarette. It's absolutely brilliant. And then we have the mystery. The Elite take on the Lucha Bros and a mystery partner. There's only 4 matches announced for this thing, and I've seen some people kind of shitting on that.
Why? I mean, this is an attraction within an attraction.
That's what I don't think people realize. Like, this is a sideshow attraction to, like, a Comic-Con for video game nerds.
Well, even outside of that, there's other promotions being represented here as well. Outside of AEW, there's some other matches that are going to be happening. I mean, this is over the top. This is just in conjunction with. This isn't like officially one of their events.
Right.
And there's so much more going on outside of this thing. I think it's just something that's going over people's head. I mean, this is like these guys showing up at, Northeast Wrestling, and you're just mad that it was Cody.
And as I look at this, TakeOver typically runs 5-match cards. I mean, you could absolutely run these 4 matches on a streaming pay-per-view site for $20. People are going to watch it.
I agree with you. I love the comparison there as well. People complaining about this. You get a TakeOver, you only get 5 matches.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, you are introducing some rather unknowns, and I'd say 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everything else. But you got Darby Allin in there working with Cody, which is going to be tremendous storytelling. It's going to be tremendous storytelling. Different styles in there. That's going to be very interesting. You've got the over the top with the Elite and the Lucha Bros and their mystery partner. Janela and Moxley I believe, are just going to completely blow people away. And then with in the opener there, you've got some tremendous young talents. I don't see. This is at this point now. The more success that you have, and the closer that we get, you're just going to continue to bring out just nonsense, just blind ignorance from some of these fans.
Let's talk a little bit of MLW. We haven't talked much MLW lately, but Huckleberry, I saw a headline that absolutely grabbed my eye. Saturday, July 6th in Cicero, Illinois. I'm going to actually look up where in the hell Cicero, Illinois is, because I might actually consider going to this. I assume it's like a Chicago suburb. But it's going to be the Wagners versus the Parks. That's right. It's going to be L.A. Park and his son, El Hero del L.A. Park, taking on Dr. Wagner Jr., and his son, El Heo del Dr. Wagner Jr. Rick, MLW seems like they're really getting into this lucha. Like, they've realized that since Lucha Underground has seemingly went away, there is a market for Mexican professional wrestling in America, and MLW is jumping all hands in. I really want to see this match, and if I can see this match live, I'm going to try to see this match live.
You know, and it seems, you know, what I really enjoy here with how MLW presents it, obviously they know there is a void since Lucha is seemingly gone the wayside. You know, Lucha Underground seemingly gone the wayside here. But they've always kind of had that presence. De La Renta's been, you know, she presents some of the finest luchadors in the world there, amongst other finest assets in the world. Yeah. But she's always bringing it. You got her in the corner. You've got this amazing team squaring off here. I saw this too yesterday, and immediately I was scrolling through real quick, and I kind of saw the glimpse that I was one of those things where I stopped and had to go find it again to make sure that I saw that correctly. This is going to be an exciting match, a major score for MLW. And as you mentioned here, we pride ourselves. If it's here on the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, if it's over, you know, with the Hameen Media Group on Monday in the locker room, we're the ones that are covering everything. And we were kind of disappointed in ourselves that we haven't been, you know, showing MLW as much love as we have the others. Great to see that, you know, they got a headline here. This is something that fans should really take notice of. This match specifically, but go out there and start watching this product. It's very crisp. They are precise in their storytelling. Great backstage. You know, the shows they're short and sweet. You get good matches. I don't know what there's not really to support and like about this promotion.
The only thing that I can think of is hit your mute button so you don't have to listen to Jim Cornette call these matches. That's my biggest complaint about MLW right now. I cannot get into, and like Jim Cornette calling this, like two literally legendary Lucha Libre families, like, and knowing Cornette's feelings on Lucha Libre, like, I don't even want to hear you to fucking call this match.
I really hope with this match that they bring Stryker back to the table.
Yeah, he's so much well forged inside of the history and the knowledge of the Lucha Libre culture. And that's not even a dig on Cornette. It's just I know how he feels about it. So I don't even want to hear him call it, you know? Let's talk about ROH. Best in the World coming up June 28th. We got another big match announcement. We now have 4 big matches announced for this, and, well, maybe a 5th. New match announcement, ROH TV title on the line. Friend of the show, Shane Taylor, is going to be taking on returning from the Best of Super Juniors, Bandito. Now, Rick, we've seen these two go at it before. It's a very, very good match. I guess my question is, why is this match happening? Like, why is Bandito getting a shot at the ROH TV title?
Well, I could see this. You know, they've mixed it up before inside the ring. Usually at the end, it doesn't end too well for Bandito, but you know, maybe this is, you know, we have that working agreement. Bandito had a solid tournament over in the Best of the Super Juniors. So maybe this is a reward for him going over there and representing a little bit of Ring of Honor, so that they are rewarding him now with a championship opportunity.
I feel like it's just one of those things inside of ROH. I was talking with somebody yesterday, might have been MSG, just about Delirious's booking of ROH inside of the last 6 months or so. Just seems like so amiss and random and not necessarily any kind of continuity, whether it be match to match or show to show. ROH just kind of seems like it's all over the place right now.
Well, it goes back, we were talking about the Open, you know, is that kind of laying out what we're doing with Battle on the Border Pro Wrestling. It's very comparable to Ring of Honor, where you got kind of two different worlds running.
Yeah. Jeff Cobb is going to challenge Matt Taven for the ROH World Heavyweight Championship. I like that matchup a lot. I really hope that Matt Taven can find a way to win that match without Vinny and TKO getting involved like they do in every other Matt Taven match. Flip Gordon is going to take on Roosh, which is a match that I very much look forward to. That's all based around Flip Gordon being a moron. And then we have Dalton Castle taking on Roosh, his brother, Dragon Lee, because he seemingly has it in his head that beating up the little brother is going to be easier, which I'm going with Dragon Lee to win this match in 15 seconds.
Oh, no, I absolutely love this booking here. You know, Roosh has got the best of Dalton Castle, but in Castle playing the mind games, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that next match with Roosh. He feels that it would be more rewarding and a better accomplishment for the former champion if he would go over on Dragon Lee. Absolutely an insult to Roosh, if you will. Absolutely love the mind games here from Dalton Castle.
I want to see Dragon Lee squash him. I want to see the same thing that happened inside of MSG, just 1 second faster, and just completely send Dalton Castle off the deep end. That's what I want to see happen.
Hey, Dragon Lee might be coming a little extra hungry if he is if he's a little light on gold.
Yeah, there is that. Then we have the NWA, Rick. The NWA is kind of, it seemingly exists inside of ROH at this point, which is kind of odd. But they just released the video of Colt Cabana and James Storm, which again happened at an ROH show, but it was for the NWA National Championship. 15-minute time limit draw that I thought was absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you are a fan of less is more and two characters inside of professional wrestling, this match goes 15 minutes, and I think in the first 6 minutes, the only move that was used was a headlock. It was just absolutely masterful stuff from Colt Cabana and Cowboy James Storm. This match goes to the 15-minute time limit draw. Colt Cabana jumps on the microphone and says, we're in Chicago, my hometown. These fans want 5 more minutes. We're going to give them 5 more minutes. And then the Briscoes come out and they beat the ever-loving piss out of Colt Cabana. James Storm's like, I don't want no part of this. Sorry about your damn luck. And he turns around and he walks back up the ramp, and the Briscoes just light up Colt Cabana. And then they start sending messages to Nick Aldis, who is on commentary. Nick Aldis comes down, and there gets to be a fisticuffs. Huckleberry, it's looking like it's going to be the Briscoes versus the NWA at best in the world. It's going to be the national champion, Colt Cabana, and the holder of the 10 pounds of gold, the world's heavyweight champion, Nick Aldis, taking on the Briscoes. I love everything about this story.
I love the story, declaring war on the NWA, going back to that promo they cut after that they were robbed at the Crockett Cup with the disqualification. But I'll tell you what match I really want to see here. I mean, we're talking about the Briscoes and potential matchups going forward with them for the rest of this year. I like this match with Cabana and Aldis, the two champs representing their brand. Absolutely love that. But what really kind of threw me, when James Storm bailed, I'd like to see him come back into play here, and I'd like to see Billy Corgan maybe go out and hire James Storm, saying, you know what, I do need someone. The Briscoes, they are tag team experts. They're ultra violent. They know how to work together. They are a single unit. I need someone to take them out to end this war. James Storm, you're regarded as one of the finest tag team wrestlers in the world. I will pay any price if you can go get a partner to come take on the Briscoes. I think you know where I'm going. And he shows up with badass Billy Gunn.
I love it. Badass actually doing a spot tonight on the Impact Wrestling, what's that called? Impact Plus, I believe is the name of their network. It's going to be Touch It or Suck It. That's right. It's going to be Joey Ryan versus the badass Billy Gunn. Touch it or suck it. I love everything about it. I almost entertained getting the pay-per-view just to see that match. Oh, yeah, and the Great Muta is on that show. I believe it is entitled A Night You Can't Miss. Nice little play on words there. Let's talk a little bit about Impact Wrestling. They got Slammiversary coming up. They're starting to announce some matches for that, and there's one of these that kind of stands out a little bit for me. Impact Championship on the line. It's going to be Big Michael Elgin taking on Brian Cage. How about the news that Brian Cage was trying to get into the buy-in battle royal, and Impact Wrestling kiboshed it? Did you hear that story?
I did. They don't want to have that working relationship. It goes back. We're talking about, at All In, you had all those promotions kind of lending talent, working together, what made it, so special. And they lost a lot of those names at Double or Nothing. Not saying, taking away for Double or Nothing, AEW knocked it out of the park there, I believe, but it just kind of fell flat from All In. Okay,
let's put on our tinfoil hats, Hameen Media. Or is this a work? Are we trying to build heat between Impact Wrestling in AEW? Keep those tinfoil hats on for this part of the show. X Division Championship on the line. Johnny, whatever the hell promotion he's working at today, Impact, takes on Rich Swann for the X Division Championship. I'm sure that'll be a good match. This is the one that really jumps out to me. We're going to have a fatal 4-way Monsters Ball match for the Knockouts Championship. We're going to have a fatal 4-way women's Monsters Ball match. The first time that the women have ever had a Monsters Ball match. It's going to be Taya versus Havoc versus Su Yung versus Rosemary. These are absolutely the 4 women that I would want to have inside of this match. I don't want to see James Mitchell anywhere near the ring. I don't want this to happen in the Undead Realm. I don't want this to happen with fucked up lighting. Just let these 4 girls go out there and do what they do. And hopefully Taya Valkyrie walks out still your Impact Women's Champion.
Well, I'm with you, not really in or who I, prefer to see walk out of this thing. I really don't have a choice, but I'm with you. Don't gimmick it out. Let these talents go out there and just, blow the roof off of the place.
I could see him putting it on Havoc too. Any chance Havoc joins OVE?
Ooh, possibility.
I could see that going down. And then there's the one that really kind of caught the internet ablaze the other day. Of course, we know that Killer Kross has said that he wants out of Impact Wrestling, and I don't think that's really the case. I don't think that Killer Kross wants out of Impact Wrestling. I think he just wants Impact Wrestling to pay him what he is worth, and then he will stay in Impact Wrestling. But now it seems as though he wants to fight Jon Moxley. Tinfoil hats, ladies and gentlemen. Could we be setting up heat between AEW and Impact Wrestling to set up at Slammiversary Jon Moxley versus Killer Kross? Because if so, I will buy that pay-per-view just to see that match.
What kind of frequent flyer miles is Moxley getting right now?
Dude, I think he's on a mission. I think he's on a mission to prove that you don't need the WWE if you just go out and do it. I mean, like, this is Cody 101, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. That's exactly what Cody did when he hit the road. He wasn't really over asking. He's just trying to get out there, letting people know he was willing to work, and ultimately look at the boom in the end. The ends to the means. How amazing that was for him.
I want to see that match. Do you want to see that match?
Anywhere, and everywhere.
I want to see that match. Chances are our listeners want to see that match too. All right, Huckleberry, I know you got to get to TV, so let's wrap things up. Let's talk about Stomping Grounds. We're going to talk a little bit about Super Showdown on Monday inside the locker room, hackerhameen.podbean.com. Craig Thompson Horsley had to go and put it out there into the universe that he wanted a Jargo rant about the Goldberg and Undertaker match. At this point, I have not watched any of the Blood Money shows. I haven't watched Blood Money 1. I haven't watched Blood Money 2. I didn't watch Blood Money 3, but I'm going to plug my nose and watch the 9 minutes that was evidently the botch fest known as Undertaker versus Goldberg. You can tune in Monday into the locker room for that, as well as the Dominion review. But they're setting up now Stomping Grounds, and evidently what we're going to do is a bunch of rematches from fucking Blood Money. So we're going to end up with Rollins versus Corbin for the Universal Championship. It's going to be Ziggler versus Kofi in a steel cage. Because, that's warranted. And we're going to do Roman versus Drew. I thought the stipulation, Rick, was that Roman Reigns had to beat the best in the world, Shane McMahon, in order to get a shot at Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds. And that's not what happened in the Kingdom of Saudi fucking Arabia. It was Shane McMahon, the best in the world, beating Roman Reigns.
Well, here's I got two takes on this thing. One, why was this even a stipulation? I mean, is the audience that hungry to once again see Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre? I mean, we saw it at WrestleMania, and we see some sort of interaction, physical contact between these two weekly. Is there that much of a demand to see these two put together in a match where we didn't even, have the stakes of, if Roman can beat Shane, then he gets Drew in a gimmick of his choice, or they're going to go, use them inside the cage to kind of up the ante there. I mean, why weren't we getting that? Why was the stipulation even in place? They did go with it in any case. Roman lost the match, albeit by crook. Drew interfered there. There was some miscue. Drew assists with the win. Shane still gets the win, so that kind of avoids Roman's not getting the match. Who in management overrid the result, the decision, and allowed Roman to have this match? Which of the other McMahons said, screw you, Shane, we're allowing this to go on?
It just
was it Dad? Was it his sister? Was it Triple H? Who okayed this?
I just kind of throw my hands up in the air at this point when it comes
well,
to
I think, we're looking at this card, as you said. They've been having 2 weeks of build, or 2 or 3 weeks of build there. We don't have a whole lot of turnaround here for Stomping Ground, so let's just continue these things. It's just an extension. We're going to rematch everything. Maybe they're just figuring, that no one even realized that was a stipulation in that match.
But we do have the women at Stomping Grounds. I'm not sure where Stomping Grounds is taking place, but it's obviously not in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They're going to let women wrestle on this show. It's going to be Bayley taking on Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown Women's title, and Becky One Belt taking on Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's title. Huckleberry, that's where we're going to stop for today. We're going to stop for the day on Lacey Evans, because I want you to tell me how fucking great that match was with Lacey Evans and your precious Shar Shar last Monday on Raw. I'm looking back. I think this might be the worst match in the history of Monday Night Raw.
Let's talk about something really important here. Let's talk about this name, Stomping Grounds. I mean, is this right up there with Great Balls of Fire? I mean, this is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, you're right.
One of the worst event names that I've ever heard. And I want to take the time to answer that other question for you, Jargo, but I'm sorry. I'm up against the clock. I've got to get to television. We got to get the production set up. Maybe we can discuss that Monday.
So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for listening. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Then make sure that you visit our friends over at thegorillaposition.com as they tell the stories of pro wrestling storytellers. Last word on prowrestling.com for all of your pro wrestling needs. Then make sure that you find hackerhameen.podbean.com, where you can see me hold Rick's balls to the fire about Charlotte versus Lacey Evans this Monday in the locker room. hackerhameen.podbean.com. Find the entire HTM podcast network online, hittingthemarks.com. Let's see, what else can I plug? Plug our Twitter at HTMPWPod. You can find me across all social media platforms at NotJargo. RBV, how do the peeps, the freaks, and the geeks find you?
Well, as always, across all social media at The Real RBV. A little heads up, I'm going to be a little silent the next couple of days as my phone has seemingly, the screen has taken a massive shit on me.
Was it brown?
It is it's somewhere like a gold.
Oh man, too much iron in the diet. That's it for this week's show. We'll talk to you Monday in the locker room. For now, we're off like a prom dress. See ya!
Point your fingers. Label me. I don't give a I'll be your bad guy. Stop. Go! Draping the blame on me. I smell self-righteousness.
That's the bad guy.
Go! You'll be draping the blame on me. I smell self-righteousness.
That's the bad guy.
Go! bitch and I lied. She was at home with me last night. I'll be your bad guy.